Well, he was born in Wolf Bayou, Arkansas. It's about maybe 3 or 4 miles from here. It's not very far. And to my understanding, he actually learned to play harmonica from an old guy that was a hobo, and he actually got his feet wet like that, and then just continued with his career. You know, I don't know actual facts for sure, but I've always heard tell that he started when he was about 8 or 10 years old, and then by the time he was 12, he was playing shows. So he started pretty young. Yeah, gosh, they had a lifelong partnership in music and in friendship too. They were really good friends. Lonnie and his wife Ruth, and my grandpa and Granny Lois Raney. Anyway, they traveled together and worked together for years. But I believe he started some of his earliest playing was with Lonnie Glosson. That's where he learned the fundamentals, and then of course, went on to bigger and better things with that.
So he actually learned a lot from Lonnie.
I believe he did. I don't know that I ever heard him say that, but I'm going to say that he probably did. Yep. He wrote several songs with them, Blues Stay Away From Me, and several other songs. And he also was on their albums, singing harmony and playing harp for them. So they were collectively they did stuff together besides just writing. They played together a lot, and I think they were really good friends as well. Goodness, where to start? He wrote several big songs. Why Don't You Haul Off and Love Me? Blues Stay Away From Me. He was a co-writer. Gosh, a whole lot more Jesus, a lot less rock and roll. Man, I can't think of them all, but he had a long career, and not just as an artist, but as a writer, artist, as a DJ, as a early TV personality. He did it all. Again, I don't know for sure exactly what was the catalyst to that, but I figure he, working with all the different artists and all the different labels and then manufacturers and stuff, he probably thought, this is something I probably should maybe do. And so I figure that's where Rimrock, the concept of it, come in, of starting his own label and his own manufacturing plant. They ran it for well over 20 years before it sold to Stax out of Memphis.
So do you remember what year Rimrock would have been built?
I'm pretty certain it was, the beginning of it was 1956. That was the beginning. The tape recorders were Ampex. The last console that was installed after Stax bought it was an audio device. It was a kind of an interesting console because the whole console was tube. It was like a tube amp. The whole board was tube. I cannot imagine how much maintenance something like that would take. But I do remember as a kid that it had an exhaust stack, kind of like a stove, to exhaust the heat off of it because it threw so much heat from those tubes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be good in the wintertime, but not so much in...
Yeah, it'd be hard to cool it off, but in the wintertime you probably wouldn't need a heater. Let's see. I'm not sure the exact years. I think it was between 58 and 62. They sold, I believe those years are right, they sold around 6 million harmonicas and how to play by ear book that came with the harmonica. Yeah, him and Lonnie Glosson were involved in that, and I think Lonnie helped, and there was other artists, and of course all that started, I believe, when he was still on WCKY in Cincinnati, and he was also with XERF in South Texas and Del Rio. So that was a several-year process, but they sure sold a lot of harmonicas.
I remember your granny told me she'd go and just get this huge stacks of mail from the post office back in those days.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've seen pictures, too. Again, a little before my time, but, yeah, I've seen the pictures as well. That was one of the early mail order businesses that come along in its time. Well, of course, when he sold it, it was still an operating business. That's what Stax bought, was the manufacturing, and they got another studio in the purchase, and all of the clients and the customers that Rimrock had built up over the years. They got all of that. So he was in it up until the day he retired. As a part of the sale, they had to sign a non-compete clause, and he also worked on as the president of manufacturing as a transition time between when they sold and when Stax took it over. But after his time was up, he retired. He did. That was basically something to do to get him out of the house. So, gosh, they built that up to a pretty big business as well. And later on, I worked with them in that business too, myself personally, when we started Raney Studio down here, which is just next door to them, where they ran their duplication shop. They formed out the printing and just did the cassette duplication and the packing and wrapping, but the printing was a little bit out of their reach. So when we went into business, we set up to be able to do the printing and all the other duplication and packaging as well. So it was really good for both of us, for both businesses. And then when they finally decided that they were finished and they were ready to retire from it, we just absorbed that business into this one and just kept going.